we're looking for outcomes. What is the outcome? What does success look like for you? How do you define it in the backyard? Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Jon Valenta is with us here again this week from General Paving Stones in New Jersey. Hey, John, what's going on?
Hey, Joshua. Glad to be back again.
Yeah, I'm happy too. I know that you just got one heck of a snowfall over at your house, and we got lucky over here. We only got like 3 inches, but how much did you get over your way?
Yeah, we got up to a foot here in my neck of the woods in Jersey, and I love it. I can't get enough. Love the snow. Never get sick of it. And, took care of my own driveway and made a great decision about 4 years ago to give up snow plowing, and I have no regrets.
Nice hot coffee, looking out, watching it snow. I bet you it changed everything from what it was only 4 years ago. Huh?
It's like a dream come true.
Love it, dude. I love it, dude. So, yeah, but when you stop snow plowing, that means that, you got to make up that money somewhere else, right?
And make up that money with what we do best. And rather than beating up our equipment and working crazy long hours, we can instead prepare for the upcoming season and be more profitable with our hardscape installation that, like I said, we do spring, summer, and fall.
And you guys sometimes can even work into the winter, can't you?
There have been, I mean, not this year,
No.
but there have been, plenty of years where, January, February, maybe not full time, but, a few days or a few weeks here or there when it's warm enough, or, get the heaters and ground blankets out and get some stuff done. Absolutely. It's much, much better than beating the crap out of your equipment and working crazy long hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in snow, and I've never really been in the snow world, guys, so don't take any credit in this. But the reality is, I think it's either the guys are really big and do this really well, or you've got the guys that are just busting up their equipment throughout the winter. They see some money coming in, but most of it goes right back into fixing those trucks and the plows and all the salt that destroys the thing. So I mean, that's my 2 cents. But anyway, and what I really want to jump in today is the idea of how to be able to sell more and help your customers on their journey. And one of the big overarching themes in the Core 10 Sales Playbook that I wrote is this idea of that you need to stop selling features and start selling outcomes. So features are like, think of features being like, what you sell. Patio, seating wall, fire pit, like those are features. So if a customer comes to you and says, "Hey, John, I'm looking to have a new fire pit, a new patio, and a new seating wall put in the backyard." In the old days, I would be like, "Sweet, they know exactly what they want. I'm going to grab that down. I'm going to go get a proposal together, get a little design together for them, come back and sell this project." And that would work 25 to 30% of the time. And I couldn't understand what was happening. What was I missing? I'm giving them exactly what they asked for. Like, why is my closing rate not 100%? Did I just not hear something? And then you go by 6 months later and somebody else is building a patio, seating wall, and a fire pit. And you're like, but that's what they asked for. And that's the proposal I gave. My price must be too high. And then you get stuck. Did that ever happen to you?
All the time. And even worse, you drive by and you see they're building a much bigger project with a lot more features and bigger features than they even asked for. And you just think like, that's crazy. How are they building this much bigger project? They didn't ask me for that. Well, why did this guy get it? And you must have asked them much better questions and figured out what they really wanted and why. And they heard it and they chose him instead of you.
Yeah, and that hurts. I've been there, dude. I'm like, you drive by to your point, and I'm like, we never talked about a water feature, and we never talked about a fence around the property, and we never talked about a hot tub. Like, we just talked about 3 things. How did this other guy find this out? Maybe they changed their minds, or maybe my price was too high, and this guy was so much cheaper that they could buy all that extra stuff. And listeners, it's not that their price was cheaper. It's that you really didn't uncover the driving force of their project, like why they're doing this. They're not doing it because they want more block in their backyard, more pavers in their backyard, more plants in their backyard. That's not why they're doing these projects. So when we come into it with a feature focus, I want A, B, and C, and you give them A, B, and C, that'll work about 25 or 30% of the time. But if you want to, have your closing rate increase to 40, 50, 60, dare I say 70 plus percent, you're going to need to start going outside of the box of features and get more into outcomes. And outcomes is the why. What are they doing it for? Again, it's not just for more concrete in their backyards or paving stones or whatever, bushes. It's because there's some kind of an emotional deficit in their life that they're trying to fill. There's the outcome, right? Maybe it is they get home after a long day of work and they're inside the house and the family ends up going right to the TV and they sit around and feel guilty. They're like, that's not how we were raised. We didn't have a TV. We were always outside running around doing stuff. And now my kids sit there and they watch, SpongeBob SquarePants while we're sitting around as a family, and it drives them nuts. They're like, what if we had something in the backyard that could help pull them outside? And so they've worked their tail off. They have money saved, and they get to the point when they're thinking like, you know what? If I just had a fire pit, a patio, and a seating wall like my friends do, I could do that. And if we just give them that, that might help them out. But if we can be better sales detectives, as we are training to be, right? Better sales detectives. And I start asking better questions like, why are you looking to do this project now? And just let it hang. And they're going to be like, well, we're sick and tired of sitting in the house on these nights with our kids watching TV. We want to be outside. We want them running around. We're scared of their health because they're not moving around as much. Whoa, now we're starting to get the outcomes. So now when you build something, make sure there's plenty of space for the kids to run around. Make sure that you understand who's going to be coming over, how often they're going to be using it. Again, we're looking for outcomes. What is the outcome? What does success look like for you? How do you define it in the backyard? Once we get to the outcome side of things, next thing you know, the client's original budget of $15K for that fire pit, patio, seating wall starts to rise up, and they're like, I don't know what this is going to cost, but if we could solve this internal problem that we have right now, this guilt that I feel, not that I don't care what it costs, but I'm certainly willing to invest more in this space. And it's not our goal, guys, listening out there, to try to drive the price of the project up. We want to make sure that the solution solves that problem, that the driving force of the project by the end is achieved. That we know that they can come out and they're not watching TV inside the house anymore, and the kids are running around playing ball outside, where the parents are sitting next to that fire pit with a glass of wine with friends. Like, that's what we're selling. We're selling that outcome. The patio, the seating wall, the fire pit just happens to be the vehicles that get them there. But if we only stop right there halfway through and we don't go to the why, we're going to miss out on a significant amount of work and a significant amount of serving that we can do with our customers to be able to help them get there. So, John, have you gone through a process like this in your business and figuring out the difference between the features and outcomes and that kind of thing?
I have, and I'm glad I have, because the way it was in the past, it was they tell me what they want, and I say, okay, I'll get you a price, or even a free design.
Did you say free design?
Free design in 3D.
Free design? I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
And how much time do you spend on those free 3D designs? Try to say that fast 3 times.
Yeah, I'm afraid to even say, because it's going to be way more than your estimate on the other podcast. Sometimes hours turn into days with a big project or multiple changes, again for free, to still not get the job, because I'm just there, not asking any questions, not asking why they want this, not asking how they plan to use it or how often they plan to use it. So it really, even though it's what they asked for, it wasn't solving their problem.
And, I go back to thinking, why did I used to sell that way? Why did you used to sell that way, John?
Yeah, it's all we knew. We had no idea, didn't get any training or education on sales, and just knew how to build stuff. So just went out and talked to people that asked us to build something for them, and really didn't get down to like really why they wanted it, and how they planned on using it, so that they would know that we would be the right ones to build this for them and their family.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. I mean, I learned how to sell from my father in the garden center, my mother in the garden center, and people came to the garden center to buy stuff. They already kind of knew they wanted tomato plants or a plum tree or whatever it might be. So all I had to do was kind of direct them. So it was very feature focused in that sense. I didn't understand back then about asking like, what are you trying to achieve here? Like, I want a tree. What are you gonna do? Like, no, deep down, they don't just want a tree. They want to go back to when they were a child. This might be the story. We don't know. We'd have to uncover it. Go back when they were a child and they go to their grandparents' house and they can go out and pick an apple from a tree and they love that. It takes them back to a simpler time in their life and they want to make sure their kids have that experience. So all of a sudden, that $60 tree, which sounds expensive for a small tree in a little sack, all of a sudden becomes priceless because it takes them back to a time they had. Most of these decisions they're making for these outdoor spaces are not because they just want a tree or they just want a bush. It's because they want what those things will give them. And most of the time, that's emotional. Sometimes it's practical. Sometimes it's, blocking a neighbor or whatever, but then you're back to the emotional side of privacy. They want to be able to go out there and not be in a fishbowl. So that's really what we're selling, guys. It's not the row of arbs. It's the privacy that them and their family will have. And how this translates then into your proposal is massive. Because if you're the guy like most contractors who just puts features down in their proposal and they say, there's the seating wall, the fire pit, and the patio, and you just put a pricing after all of that, after you've had extensive conversations with your customer, and then all of a sudden they get 3 proposals that do exactly the same thing because they told all 3 people what they wanted. Now you're putting them in a price war. The client looks at all 3. There's no discernible difference between any of them. So they pick the cheapest price. And you wonder why you lost at the cheapest price again, because yours didn't stand out. It didn't evoke any emotion whatsoever. Do you ever find that out with your projects? Like if you put a little bit more time and thought into how you word your proposals, how that shifts the way the clients see it, how they absorb it in your closing rate on them?
Absolutely. Just like you said, if there's no difference, then there's no value in that higher price. There's no reason to hire the guy with the higher price. He gave you no reason. Then yeah, then they're not going to pick you. Definitely. Mm.
Yeah. It's so much of this happens during your discovery process with your customers. And listeners, if you don't have a discovery process, a tried and true discovery process to walk your clients through before you ever leave your office. And I'm not talking about 2 questions and some kind of questionnaire on your homepage of your website. I'm talking about a one-on-one human to human conversation before you ever turn and burn those wheels on your vehicle. If you don't have that, you're missing out on a massive opportunity to preserve your time and to safeguard you and your customer. So I say that because during that discovery process is when those ideas are mined, if you will. They're extracted from the customer and they freely give them to you. If you've got great questions and you start asking like the question, like, what makes this project make sense right now? The next thing you know, the clients, like, they start popping up with, well, you know what? We've got a graduation in 6 months. We want to get it done. My family's flying in from all over the country. We want to make this the place. And then we want to use this space to do something else, like have, maybe fellowship meetings after church on the back patio in the summertime, like whatever it might be. And we start getting a sense of what they're going to use that space for. That's going to be a huge direction, so that when it comes time to put your proposal together, the last thing you want to do is just mark out the features. We need to be capturing during those calls things like, if you're asking questions like that and the answer comes back from the customers in their words, not your makeup of their words, in their exact words, we want a space that our family can expand and grow into so we can spend precious moments together. Let's just say that was their framing of words and what they're trying to achieve. That's their outcome. You better be capturing that exact framing of words. And that exact framing of words goes when you present your design. Look, this is a space where your family can gather and you guys can share memories forever. Whatever their wording is, right? You can put it in there. You also do that in your proposal too. Same thing. You make sure that they can understand you. You bake the outcome into your proposal. So they say it's not just a paver patio. Maybe they said we want an expansive paver patio so everyone can fit. Excellent. So that's going to be in your design. Here's a design with an expansive paver patio so everyone can fit. And in their proposal, here's an expansive paver patio that everyone can fit. And all of a sudden, like, holy moly, like that's exactly what we wanted. Everybody else just gave us a paver patio. This one's going to fit because he just said it the way I said it. It's really that simple, right? It's amazing how when you take the time to capture those words that they freely give you and then make sure you understand them, there's always levels. We teach that in the academy about how to peel the onion and go deeper to truly understand what they mean. Once you understand that and you can hand that then back to them, I mean, do you think people are upset about the words that they use, John? You think that they describe things in ways they don't understand, or do you think they use the words that they know and then they try to describe what they want? Maybe it's a picture in your mind, but they're trying to translate that idea, that picture, to you via words. And when you capture their words, it's super powerful. Have you ever found that to be true?
Yeah, 100%. Uh, I can be very technical, and a typical homeowner is not going to know like the proper terminology for all the things that we build with, and you just kind of have to forget all that. And if they call a paver a brick, and a brick is made out of clay, and a paver is made out of concrete, I don't care anymore. I'm going to call it what they call it, because then they're going to know that I'm listening and that I understand them, and I get what they want. And using their language, even though sometimes it's difficult. Um,
It is, right. You want to correct it. Like it's not it's not a brick. It's a paver. Darn it, that's the right thing. It's not a shade structure. It's a pergola, not a pergola. It's a pergola, right? It's like you want to jump in when they're stumbling over stuff. Shut your darn mouth. If
no,
they want to call it a brick, you call it a brick. If they
that's
want to
right.
call it a shade structure, you call it a shade structure. They want to call it a pergola or a pergola, let them call it that.
Yep. And then you call it the same thing.
It's simple. This isn't about trying to correct them so they're now right with the way that we talk. It's not that at all. That when you do that, some, not all, but some clients will get a little perturbed to be like, wait a minute here. Like, is he trying to call me dumb? Like, I know it's a brick, I know it's a paver, but that's the word that I use. And if that person doesn't respect that, and subconsciously they may not even want to connect with you because you're just breaking rapport that way. We don't want to break rapport. We want us to make sure we're still in an environment where we're, you know, building trust, but they buy from people they know, like, and trust, right? So that's a big piece of this. So if you hear somebody say that, don't try to correct them. If they say a raised terrace, don't say, oh, you mean a deck? No, they mean a raised terrace. A deck is something different, even though we know it's the same thing. We're around it way too tight, way too close, and we get ourselves all our pennies in a bunch over here, listening like, no, we got to correct everything. It's got to be our language. Just what we have to do, And when it comes down to it, it's not about us; it's about them. They're the ones that are going to be stroking that check. They're the ones that are going to be the people that you're building a relationship and working with. So, listeners, if you're that person that likes to correct people, good, leave that at home. Don't take it out to the job site. Be good listeners and accept what's being. Now, if they come to you and say, "What do you call that? What do you call that? What do you call that?" and you say, "Oh, you mean like a pergola?" If they showed you a picture. Like, yeah, well, that's what it's. Oh, that's what it's, a pergola. Yeah, it wasn't true. That's okay. But don't try to correct them because that just pisses people off. They don't like that at all. Yeah, amazing stuff, guys. So listen, when it comes down to it, if you're the kind of salesperson like I was, and it sounds like John was when we originally started, and we didn't know any different, and started to just focus on selling those features, just taking down notes of exactly what they've asked for, simplifying it, and then giving them a quote for just that, you're missing out on a massive opportunity. Again, that'll get you 25 or 30%, one in three. That's what that strategy will get you. If you want more, if you want to be able to safeguard your time, make double the amount of money in the same amount of time or more, then you're going to have to start thinking a little past the feature and more into the emotional drivers, slowing the conversation down and having a structured way of unpacking that for a customer. And a beautiful thing is every single customer is different. It's like a snowflake. Every single one is a little bit different. So we have to know coming in that our goal is to love on this client. It's to discover, it's to understand them from their point of view and not trying to cast our thoughts, our judgments, our preconceived notions of what an outdoor living space has to have. One of my favorite questions, John, is, hey, John, so what should, to a bunch of professionals, I'd say, like, what does a outdoor living space have to include?
I wouldn't say any one thing, it has to include what it has to include to, accomplish the goals of the client.
That's the right answer. Let's go back and act like we just started out in business again, like we used to, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Take
back in the
two.
day, yeah.
Take two.
It's got to have the patio, it's got to have room for, the cooking and eating, well, which is going to require, some sort of seat wall. And then it's got to have the fire pit, and it's got to have the low voltage lighting. It has to have all those things. And whether they want or need it or not, I'm going to tell them that you got to have all this, and this is what it costs.
Yeah, yeah. So how effective is that when you're talking to customers and you have a preconceived notion of what an outdoor living space has to be, should be, must be for you to even go out and do the work? Like, what do you think that does to your relationship with the customer?
It sure doesn't help. It's like you said, with the eyes glazing over, just to start just kind of looking away and not paying attention anymore, because I'm just going on and on about what I think that they need to have, and it's probably not it.
Yeah. I mean, when we assume, which is what that is, basically, it's this righteous pride and assumption that this is how it always has to be, we are going to be closing 25 to 30% of our work because some people, very few, actually say, okay, well, it sounds simple enough. Let's do that. But most, specifically premium clients, the ones that'll actually pay you what you're worth and the ones you'll actually make a profit on that project, they're not going to be in that game at all. They're going to be like, this guy's a self-righteous blank, and I'm not very interested in talking to this guy anymore because he's more interested in telling us what I need than actually listening to what I want. And I say all this because at a certain point in my career, I used to do that. I used to think that it was best to go out and say, guys, look, you're looking for an outlet. You sent your contact form in. I didn't have any pre-qualifying back then or no discovery. It was like it was basically phone call or contact form out on site, right? And that was, again, 25 or 30% of the time that works. So with that, I would go out and I'd sit down. I'm like, all right, cool. They want an outdoor living space. That means you're filling the assumption blank here, right? This means, it has to be a patio because that's the only thing I build. And it has to be a seating wall and a fire pit because that's what a full backyard has. And throw in some landscaping and lighting and maybe even a water feature. Now that's a proper outdoor living space. Do you want it? The customer looks at me and is like, sure, we'll get back to you. That's the false yes, right? Sure, we'll get back to you. Or yeah, give me a design. This is the best thing about talking about wasting. I said 2 hours in the last episode per tire kicker waste. Time-wise, it's not even close with this one. I'd go back and spend hours, like you mentioned, hours doing a design, right down to the T, like beautiful. I'd put a proposal together because they told me yes. All right, I'll get back to you. So I get back to them, I present it, and they'd look and be like, okay, we'll get back to you again. Right? Yep. Still waiting for the phone to ring. Still waiting for that phone to ring, John. Still waiting for it. And that's been 20 years. And the reason why is because I'm casting my thoughts, my own preconceived notions on what this customer needs. And all they wanted was me to listen to them. So your first answer obviously was the right one, right? It was, I don't know. I just did this in front of a group down in Cancun at the Hardscape Paradise event. And, you hear all kinds of people say, oh, patios and fire pits and lighting and blah, blah, blah down through. And I'm like, how do you know that's what that client needs? What's the perfect outdoor living space? It depends on who you ask. Just like, what's the definition of success? It's different for everybody. What's the definition of failure? It's different for everybody. How can outdoor living not be the same, right? Everyone has a different opinion, whatever it takes to get them outside. So the question is, it depends. And the next question then for professionals in this industry, the ones that have been doing a long time, is, well, how much should an outdoor living project cost?
Another good one.
Right?
And so that's going to vary greatly.
It will. Depends on what kind of projects you build, right? Like an average project should, if you're taking the bait, and listeners, you shouldn't take the bait because the answer obviously is C, depends, right? So it's, when you think about it, it really, if you say, the average outdoor living project is $50,000, what does that include? You didn't even ask them. You told them what it was, what they needed. You told them what the budget's going to be because that's what you do. And you walk out of the place. What options have you given your customers? Think about it. They're already like, he wants to build his backyard in my backyard and wants me to pay for it. And that'll work 20 to 30% of the time, right? It all goes back to that's the closing rate because this is the strategy or lack thereof that we've been taught since we were kids. When we change that, when we shift that, when we start focusing more on outcomes, all right, tell me more about that. That's the three magic words, listeners. If it works in every business transaction, it'll work in every relationship at home too, is simply, and you men out there listening, this works great in your marriage too, is when your wife says something to you, you say, tell me more. Right? That's like, I don't know, it's like honey to women's ears, right? So tell me more about that. Because most of the time I was like, oh my God, is she going back in that again? Like, am I going to listen to this again? I'm like, but tell me more. So when you had on a proposal with somebody and they say something like, I really want to have more connectivity with my kids in the backyard, you'd be like, tell me more about that. Those three magic words will make you more money than anything I'll teach you. Just tell me more. And then all of a sudden they start opening up like, well, you know what? My husband works constantly and I'm stuck with these three kids at home and they drive me nuts. It's so loud inside of this house. I just want to sit on the back patio at times when they're taking their nap and just breathe, have the sun beating on my body. And you're like, outcomes. There's the outcomes. They're coming up right now. You better be writing that stuff down so that when you got your design, you're writing in there, say, look, Mrs. Jones, right there you are. Enjoying that nap time sunbathing that you love to do, sitting back there, drinking your iced tea, waiting for them to wake up. And then when you got your proposal, guess what it better say in there? Patio to make sure you can sit back and enjoy that sun when your kids are sleeping. Like it's not rocket science, guys. It's very simple. We have to be working toward outcomes because when we do work toward outcomes, the emotional drivers are what fuel the sale. They only, logic jumps in later and it justifies it. But most 80+% of that decision is made via emotions. And if you're not tapping on them because you're hitting just the features and not hitting the outcomes, you're missing 70 to 75% of your opportunities just in that alone. John, I've been doing a lot of talking here. What do you want to throw in?
I don't know if there's really much else. You really nailed it with the outcomes and the questions. You know, if they're going to tell you what they want, you got to ask why and how they plan on using it. You want a fire pit? Okay. How do you envision using that fire pit? How often are you going to use it? You know, do you like chopping firewood or do you want to, just flip a switch and have it turn on automatically? You know, if you can really connect and find out why they really want it and how they're going to use it, they can, actually envision using it and are more willing to, spend the money on it and go with you.
And so often when you're uncovering that or peeling the onion, as we like to call it, when you're peeling down, you'll get to a point, usually layer two, sometimes layer, not normally layer one, normally it's layer two, layer three. And you'll get to a point where they say, well, we just want a comfortable space to sit outside. What does the space have to look and feel like? Well, we want it to be comfortable. Well, dude, what is it? So when I say that, John, to go in your backyard and to be comfortable, what is that? What do you need to make that happen? Explain to me what that might look like for you.
Yeah, I mean, could be different for anyone, but it could just be like a nice space and maybe some shade and room to, put a table and chairs or something.
It could be exactly that. And we've used this same question for many, many years now. And the results, the kind of responses we get are all over the map. Because what is comfortable to you and what that word means is something completely different to me. And it's completely different to the other 8 billion people on this planet. Right? So if we're assuming they say comfort, we ignore it, we don't go deeper and peel that onion, the next thing we get is a half-assed design that doesn't really meet any of their needs. It just might look really cool, but it doesn't get them what they need, that outcome, right? It's now we're back to features again. But if we go one level deeper, we say, so Mrs. Jones, you mentioned comfort. What does comfort look like for you outdoors? Always the outdoors part because it's different inside. Next thing you know, she's like, well, wow, like I would just want a club chair that I can sit after a long day. I want to have a glass of wine. I want to look west toward the sunset. That's why we bought this house. And I just want to just watch the light disappear and go lower and lower and lower so I can go back in my house, go to bed and get up and do it all again the next day. So comfort for me is a nice club chair with a little table next to it so I can put my glass of wine, another little club chair next to it so my husband can sit and enjoy this time when he wants to with me. And that's what I want to have in my backyard. Guess what, guys? She just gave you the design. Guess what you're going to capture? If you're not too busy in your own head thinking about how am I going to talk about how great I am or how I can fix all this and how all that, if you just be quiet, be the detective and just got it. Take the notes down. She just gave you your design. You better make sure in that 3D design, she is seen there with her glass of wine looking west into the sunset because that's what's going to sell that project for you. Now, you don't have to do this, listeners. You can go back and stay in the same old feature world if you want to, but that died back in 2014. It died a long time ago is my point. And people now are more driven by, they know they have a lot of choices. They have their own Instagram feeds tied into outdoor living. They watch these guys on YouTube and on HDTV. They watch all this stuff. They see all these things. And when you can be the best one in your market that can wire emotions to those meanings, those outcomes, and the feelings that come with it, you're the one that dominates. And if you don't, you're going to be the one that's back struggling to beat the guy with the lowest price. So really the choice at this point is yours. This is a pretty simple thing to learn how to do. Just a matter of burning the reps at it, and you get a really, really keen ear to pick those words up. And when you know there's a top 20 words to listen for and how to go deeper on them, it's simple. Now I outline this in the book, the sales playbook. You get a copy on Amazon. They're in there. You get a sense of what this even means. I go deep. It's one of the core 10 is the stop selling features and start selling outcomes. So if this is something that you're like, wow, this would give me like quite a competitive edge in your market, and it will, go grab a copy. Everything's in there. We have it as Audible, ebook, paperback, hardcover, all those wonderful things. So, John, anything else that you want to add that you've learned over the years about the difference between features and outcomes when it comes to selling outdoor living?
Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah,
That's a great 3 words. If you could get someone to tell you more about what they want and why they want it, how they plan on using it. The other guy isn't saying that. The other guy is not finding out how they're going to use it or why they really want it. He's just giving them a price for what they asked for. You're going to have the advantage, and you're going to get a lot more than 2 or 3 out of 10.
that's right. That's right. All right, guys. I hope you got something from this week. John, thank you for coming back on. And, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at the Academy, yes.express, or you can go out and grab the book. But I wish you the best in your journey. And I hope 2026, I pray that 2026 is your best year ever. But the way we're going to do it is we have to start disconnecting our minds of thinking, like in the last episode, we talked about contractors struggle to sell because they focus on how can I build it more efficiently? How can I make my crews more efficient? But let's be honest with ourselves. If we don't sell the work, we don't get the job, and crews and equipment is all for nothing. All of that. If we're going to feed those families, we're going to keep those things moving, we better be downright dangerous at communication and serving. And that's really what it's about. It's about listening better. It's not about taking advantage of people. It's about selling outcomes, not just features. That'll shift everything. If you just twist that mindset slightly, 2 or 3 degrees, and you see it that direction, everything starts to change for the good. You get more time back, you make more money, and you serve more people. It's good stuff. All right, listeners, I appreciate it. John, thank you for coming back on here, and we'll talk to you next week.
You're welcome. Talk to you again soon.